Bloodborne didn't sell as much as the other PS games like God of War or even Uncharted. Bloodborne is not coming, folks. Let's accept this. Okay, so this is I'm not gonna disrespect you, but I am going to push back on this because I've heard this. Even Moist Critical brought this up.
If you're Sony and you're just looking at money, the reason Horizon gets like 1,000 remasters, well, that's not true. It has one remaster and it's only 7 years old, but 1,000 like spin-offs, like the Lego, like all the other shit they've been doing with it. And the reason why they put so many eggs in the Horizon basket is because that shit sold, what, 24 million copies or something? Bloodborne sold 3, I think. It was 3 or 7. It's been a while since I looked at the numbers. Bloodborne sold 7, and Horizon sold 24.3. So just looking at money from their perspective, it makes more sense to just do everything Horizon.
And this is a topic that I'm going to cover in the video as well. Here is the problem with that argument. Bloodborne, at the time of the Demon Souls remake, Demon Souls sold way less copies than what Bloodborne has sold now. So the problem with the logic for of people who make that argument is they're not looking at what Sony has actually done in the past. They look at current sales numbers from some of their other franchises and they're like, oh, Bloodborne hasn't reached that level. The problem is that Sony has already proven that they're willing to remake games that haven't sold that high. Bloodborne's sales numbers are like 3 or 4 times more than what Demon Souls sold at the time when Demon Souls was remade. So if what they're saying is true, or if what you're saying, or Moist Critical, or whatever, if that is true, then they never would have remade Demon Souls. That's the problem with that argument. And that's why I think that I just don't think people have put enough thought, because I initially thought that too. When I heard it, I was like, okay, maybe that's true. Let me look into this. So I started researching the numbers on the Demon Souls remake and how many copies it sold at launch. And it was not that many compared to Bloodborne now. I think Bloodborne's like 7 million copies. Demon Souls had only sold like 1 million or 2 copies at the time in which it was remade. So I don't think that that's going to be an obstacle at all. I think that the best chance that we have for a Bloodborne remake will be a launch title or close to launch title on PS6. The reason I think that is because if you look at Sony's release history, their remakes that they made, like Ratchet and Clank and Demon Souls, they were always 2-generation gaps. PS3 for Demon Souls, and then they remade it as a launch title for PS5. Same thing, 2-generation gap for Ratchet and Clank. And there's a couple others that are like that as well. So I think that maybe the reason that we're starting to hear Bloodborne rumor, I mean, there's always Bloodborne rumors, but the reason that we've had some strange things happen here recently, like the people getting shut down who were working on like remasters, like PC ports and stuff, getting sent cease and desist letters from Sony. Here recently, when they'd been working on it for years and years and Sony never did anything, and then all of a sudden they come down on them with these legal problems and stuff like that. I think that potentially what could be going on, and again, I'm still working on it. I'll put out the video. The investigation is not complete by any means. I'm just my preliminary thoughts. I think what could be going on is they're working on a Bloodborne remake right now, and their plan is to release it for the PS6 because everybody's been thinking PS5, but PS5's too close to PS4. In their mind, I don't think that they think it needs a remake. So I think that if we're going to get it, it's going to be on PS6. That's what I was talking about. But then again, Demon Souls remake never sold that well either. So that might be a good point. But you have the Demon Souls case to know that people are that willing to drop money on remakes. You're not 100% off base on that. I do think that you have a decent point there. I would say the problem with that, though, is that Sony is not stupid, and they I can guarantee you, they 100% understand the difference between the fan base and reception of Bloodborne Remake or Bloodborne 2 versus the fan base and reception of Demon Souls. They're in two different stratospheres. When Demon Souls was remade, it did not have near the fan base that Bloodborne has now, right? So yes, it is true that maybe Demon Souls didn't sell as well, like blow everybody away with the sales numbers. But at the same time, Sony, they're not idiots, at least, well, complete idiots. They have not given us a Bloodborne 2 yet, so that's a problem. But they're not completely stupid, and they understand that Bloodborne 2 or a Bloodborne remake, or heck, at this point, even a Bloodborne PC port would break the internet and sell 4 million copies in the first week. I think they know that very well. I want to see a remake for sure. I platinumed the game. I'm just saying it's unlikely. I wouldn't say it's likely. My point is that if it's going to happen, I think it'll happen on PS6. If PS6 comes and goes, or even like the first 2 years of PS6 comes and goes, and it hasn't happened, I think at that point we have to say it's probably never coming. Or at least we have no reason to believe that it ever would.